Hello and welcome to another edition of Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. I'm Madeline Dubeck here with Matt Dietrich, and we have a very special guest with us this week, Elliot Richardson from the Small Business Advocacy Council. We're at Roosevelt University in downtown Chicago, where we had a town hall mobilization event about the budget. And Elliot, what do you hope to accomplish out of this? We gathered together a group of people. We talked about the fact that we have no state budget right now, and we want to get people active about that. So what were the highlights for you? What do you hope people will take away from it?
Well, first and foremost, we had some business organizations here. We're here with Reboot, which was fantastic. We had lots of people watching. I mean, what we want, number one, is we want the nonsense in Springfield to end. I mean, the folks, you guys have been talking about the budget impasse, how ridiculous it is, the people that are getting hurt by this budget impasse, and the fact that it needs to end. And the only way for that to happen is for us to really get engaged, to engage people throughout the state of Illinois, different types of people. We had college students here tonight. We had nonprofits. We had strong business owners, and we wanted to send a message. And that message is stop the nonsense, govern, lead, pass a responsible budget, make the reforms that are necessary, or simply leave office. I mean, we need leaders that want to govern right now, and we need to demand that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a good discussion too, because it really, it didn't get into politics a whole lot. The general mood seemed to be, we're very frustrated by the intransigence here, and we need some movement, and it's really hurting a lot of people.
It wasn't about one party or the other. It was about everybody and how it's hurting all of us and how we need to act. So we offered a couple of ways people could do that. One is to tweet about it and post on Facebook using the hashtag ILBudgetNow and our standoff tool.
Right. Using standoff, you can, with just a couple of clicks of a mouse, you enter your address. Standoff will fill in your senator and representative's name. You can type in your message. You can send it directly to the governor, the 4 legislative leaders, your representative and senator. You'll find it on rebootillinois.com. Just click the Standoff tab at the top of the site.
All right.
The beautiful thing
Yes.
is that it's a nonpartisan tool that reaches everybody, because you're getting hurt by this budget crisis, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. We all need to come together.
Right, and there were some really good points made in tonight's discussion, and we've excerpted a few of them. So if you spend a few minutes on this, it's really educational, and it'll give you a feeling that if you've been frustrated about the budget, you're not alone. So let's take a look at some of the more interesting things that were said tonight.
The impact of this budget stalemate is really killing lots of folks. It's hurting small businesses, college students, nonprofits.
So also with the Greater O'Hare Association, we have many members. And I want to talk about one member that actually I'm familiar with called the Kenneth Young Center. It's obviously a not-for-profit that serves many disadvantaged and individuals with need. In 2015, Kenneth Young Center celebrated 45 years of providing critical, life-saving services to over 27,000 individuals, ranging from 4 years old to 104 years old. The majority of its services are impacted by state funding, and of course this budget impasse has significantly amplified those problems. As a result, this year in 2016, the budget was reduced by $500,000. If you can imagine what type of impact that might have on this particular agency. They completely defunded psychiatric care as a result. This profoundly affects not only them, but their employees, as well as all the individuals that they help. They're navigating in uncharted territories right now. I've had communications with them. They're fulfilling their obligations to the state, but they're doing it with approximately $800,000 in money that's owed to them, with a promise at some point that they'll be paid. When? They don't know. So as a result, and just as one testimonial from the GOA, Regional Business Association, we urge our elected officials to, on both sides, to make the responsible choice and to pass a fair and equitable budget.
The nonprofit sector is a main driver in our local economy. employing 13.5% of our workforce, more than 4,000 people, and occupying 300,000 square feet of commercial space. Our research indicates that nonprofit employees spend $195,000 a week at other uptown businesses. That's approximately $10 million annually. The loss of these workers as a result of the state budget impasse greatly impacts the local coffee shop, the lunchtime cafe, the unique retailer, as well as hundreds of other businesses in Uptown. You can read more about our economic impact study at our website, uptownunited.org.
I've been down to Springfield, and the line they always tell me is, you know, small business, you guys are the backbone of our economy. You're the backbone of our state. Well, you want to know something? Your backbone's broken. And in order to stand up and fix this, you guys got to get together and start talking. And that's what needs to get done. And I've had enough. My neighbors had enough. It's time that the state gets together and move forward.
The two that are getting hurt most that are my clients are first nonprofits that have any kind of state funding whatsoever. Most of these organizations already operate on a shoestring budget, and so every dollar that's taken out of their pocket is a major impact to their bottom lines. We're also seeing, though, a major impact in those who are serving statewide construction. And so those organizations that are architectural firms or general contractors or those trades that are delivering services to the state, building roads or repairing bridges that are in dire need of repair throughout the state, are pulling back. They're not getting paid, and they're laying off people. And it's actually getting kind of scary out there from what we're seeing. And what I hear from legislators is the same thing that probably a lot of you might think when you're going to hear from your legislator, and perhaps why you're not calling them. That is, they don't have any power. They can't make a difference. Leadership has to make a difference. At the SBAC, we have a different approach, and that is that we want our rank and file legislators to get together and go after leadership and force them to pass a budget and force them to institute fair maps and to force them to institute other reforms that this state needs to become a viable long-term organization.
Both sides of the aisle in Springfield acknowledge that education is underfunded in the state, but the solution is caught up in the budget stalemate. This is an issue that's not only devastating to our kids, it is one of the most important long-term issues facing small businesses. Schools make neighborhoods. Neighborhoods allow small businesses to grow, to hire, and to prosper.
Do not confuse the problem of not having a budget with the problem, which is that we don't have as much revenue as we have in expenses. We are losing money at the rate of $6.2 billion right now. So you would need $6.2 billion more in revenue just to keep us even with what we're doing right now. Well, reinstating the temporary tax increase would be about $5 billion. Now, also, that $6.2 billion does not include the fact that we're underfunding the pensions grossly. So we are not remotely close to having a solution at hand that can be solved just by saying, come on, you guys, get together and solve the problem, compromise or something. If you have a compromise, there's still going to be a lot of these cuts that are in place, and you're still going to have a tax increase. Some people see it as a revenue problem. Others see it as an expense problem. I personally think it's a combination of both, but it's going to take dramatic, radical changes to fix this. We fundamentally have a model of government that is broken. We are not producing the jobs, revenue, and growth that we need to meet the obligations we've made.
The state budget crisis has affected not only students at UIC, but throughout the entire state of Illinois. Chicago State University is not just doing restructuring, it's threatening to close its doors come March 1st. And that's something that's terrifying. Our legislators are seemingly indifferent to the plight that so many students face on a daily basis. In many instances, students were unable to enroll for classes at institutions, and several other students who are enrolled now are on the hook for the MAP grants that they owe to the university if they are being subsidized by MAP. If those appropriations don't come through, those students have to pay those before they can do anything else at the university. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about one of the individuals on my campus. She's a senior. She's been on MAP grant for 4 years, and the rest of her tuition is paid for by merit scholarships. And actually, one of those scholarships at our university is called the President's Award Program. It's also underfunded by $2 million. So she alone has trouble getting the money from that scholarship, and now she has to worry about the MAP grants. She's applied to graduate and professional programs, but if MAP is cut significantly or not appropriated, she will have to wait until she can pay for that MAP grant in order to receive her diploma, to understand if she's been accepted into these universities, because now she is technically without a degree because the university will not give it to her without her paying that MAP grant. And that may affect where she can enroll, when she can enroll, and may delay her going into these programs for a year, maybe two, depending how much of the MAP grant she owes. For students who are not graduating, they could find their accounts on hold and they would not be able to enroll. And that's a problem come fall 2016.
That politics is not a game for the small business owner on Main Street. Politics closes their business. Politics is not a game for the nonprofits that lose their funding. It puts them out of business.
It's not just the small businesses. There's an ecosystem that exists around small businesses, of which they are the core. This is really about the health of our overall economy. It's not just the daycare providers, right? It's when that daycare closes that was the only affordable daycare in the area for some parents, and now the mother has to stop working so that she can take care of her children. There's an economic impact to that. And I think we have to really look at it in those terms by using those specific examples to humanize this, because these aren't widgets that we're talking about.
Illinois has had a terrible reputation for an awful long time in terms of business friendliness. And so when you've already got a damaged reputation and then you just pour fuel on the fire by having a budget impasse that lasts 8 months and nobody seems to be able to solve, you're doing a disservice to your state. We've got a whole lot of rehabilitation work to do on our state. We can do it. I mean, we can do it. We can come back. Other states have come back, but we got to start right now. And I think that's the message that we'd like to send through the small business community, and I think the nonprofit community agrees, and I know our college students agree. This is a time right now to start fixing Illinois.
I mean, the reality is that we've had this governor for maybe a year, a little bit over a year. But the issues that we're facing have been long in the making. And I think it's very easy to pile everything onto the new governor. But the reality is that there's a lot of responsibility that has to be accepted on the part of individuals who have been representing the state of Illinois, representing their districts for decades in some cases. And so the opportunity that we have to see amid the challenge is the fact that we can actually do some things different. We can do things unlike we've ever done them before. So now the opportunity that I see with this governor, however anyone feels about him, is do we take this chance to drastically move in a different direction as a state? Now, what I've seen is a lot of the legislators that say they've been fighting and they've been working in all of this have in the past been unwilling to break away from the status quo. In fact, they've willingly gone along with the status quo. And I think that needs to be called out. And that's
People talk about other special interest groups. They may talk about trial attorneys. They may talk about unions. I'm not casting aspirations on anybody. Believe me, I have friends in all of those places. They may be talking about other groups. But small business, the small business community, the people that rely on the small business community, that is your biggest, largest, greatest critical mass in the state of Illinois. And if we all stood up and got a little nasty, reforms, and I mean nasty in a good way, it's time to make our voices heard. I mean, if we play politics, we will consistently lose. I mean nasty by calling people out for not doing their job. We can make a difference because there's a lot more people in the small business community than there are legislators in Springfield. We just have to make sure that they hear us. And the only way that's going to happen is if we get loud and we get strong. If that happens, I think everything can change.
Thanks so much to Elliot Richardson and the Small Business Advocacy Council for a great event this week and for helping us to do Only in Illinois. That's it for this week's video. We'll see you on the next edition of Only in Illinois.